This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everybody. If you have any questions, just go ahead.
Hey, Francis Pirouz.
Hi, Pirus.
Just wanted to, there's nobody else was asking a question, can you expand on be true to your understanding respond that I had regarding the comparison of the perception, the nature of perceptions in dream state versus the waking state and what it revealed to me as I formulated?
Yes.
So the understanding of this is what made me think of what you said about all perceptions are thought-like, because all of these perceptions that occur in the dream, with all of their physicality, with all of their true sensations, are occurring at the waking state as well. So this is all a thought form, if you will.
Absolutely.
So I guess I'm trying to milk this experience. It was a very odd experience, and I'm trying to milk it as much as I can. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not, but I'm just trying to milk every aspect of it. And today is what come across the fact that maybe this is what you meant by saying everything is all perceptions, all are thought like.
Yes. You see, what we usually believe, falsely believe, is this, is that there are two realms that our phenomenal experience, our experience of objects and of events, is divided into two separate realms. One is a very private realm, which means things that only we experience and which our neighbor doesn't experience. And these are our thoughts and our bodily sensation. And that is, if you will, what is usually called in spiritual circles, the subtle realm. And in modern ways, perhaps the realm of mind. And then that there is the other realm, the gross realm or the physical realm, which we share. Physical objects, events in the world, we share them with our neighbor. But this view is in fact not completely accurate, because our perception of the world are private too. We don't have the same perceptions as our neighbor. We may have the same interpretation about these perceptions as our neighbor. For instance, and that is called intersubjective agreement. We may agree that a flower we perceive is a rose and that the color is pink. But we perceive different images of the same object out there. The object out there, the image of which we perceive, we never perceive it. We only perceive the images of something we don't perceive. That's what Kant once called the thing in itself, das Ding an sich, the thing in itself. We never perceive it.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what you realize, that everything, in fact, is subtle, that our experience is exclusively mind stuff plus the awareness of this mind stuff.
Yes, indeed, that is the truth.
Now there are models, different models to account for this experience. The two main models of Western philosophy are the idealist model and the realist model. In the idealist model, philosophers apply Occam's razor. They see the world out there that we allegedly perceive, since we don't perceive it, is an unnecessary hypothesis. Let's get rid of it because we don't perceive it. So let's stick to our experience, and our experience is made exclusively of minds. However, the problem with this is that in order to avoid falling into the pitfall of solipsism, this model has to account for this intersubjective agreement, the fact that we agree that it is a rose and that its color is pink. How do we explain this agreement without having an external world out there? Then we need something, we need a big coordinator of those minds. Then this big coordinator is, Berkeley, the chief idealist, if you will, used to call it God's mind. So we have to bring into the model a new hypothesis to account for this intersubjective agreement. On the other hand, the realist model explains the intersubjective agreement by the existence of an external world out there, and of which the mind is a byproduct via the body. So the mind is a production of the body, of the neurons. But then the problem with this hypothesis is that the world is never perceived directly. So it brings a new unverifiable element into the equation. And also, it doesn't explain the mystery of awareness, the hard problem of awareness. Now, the question is, which one of these two models is the best? In the East, the tradition has been the idealist model in Eastern philosophy, of course. In the West, because of Western science, we are attached to the realist model. Although with quantum mechanics, this model has been challenged. But the problem with both of these interpretations is that they are models, and models are only models. We don't have any way to verify which one of the models is correct. We cannot even come up with any Gedanken experiment that would allow for us to determine which one of these models is correct. So we are a little bit in a similar way as physics is right now with quantum mechanics, is that we have many interpretations. But they all lead to the same equations and ways to calculate. These are very powerful, but the interpretations are different. And we have no way to find, at least up until now, which interpretation is the correct one. And perhaps none of those is the correct one. Same thing here. We have two models. We have no way from the limited vantage point of our human minds to determine which one is the correct one. That you are for certain. There is no way to make the determination. And as a result, there is no way to determine that there is not a better model that truly matches, but which is inaccessible to the human mind because of the limitation of the human mind.
Right. So what I described which basically is looking at comparing the nature of perceptions in the waking state versus the dream state. Experientially, I would say has pushed me into idealism. But I don't know any of these people that you speak of. This is all new to me. Okay, but
Yes.
So from what you're telling me, it is pushed. I mean, experientially, I feel that it's been sort of edged me into this idealistic view of it.
But that's why I pointed out the weaknesses, if you will, of the idealist model. In fact, you cannot make the determination between these two models. Mm-hmm. Traditionally, in the East, Advaitic texts are idealistic. But that's a pitfall, I think, because then, since there is no need for that, non-duality doesn't require to choose between these two models. It doesn't at all. And the Western academia, let's put it this way, is allergic to idealism. Western philosophy is a little allergic also to idealism. Now, it used not to be, but now it is. So it's better to be agnostic regarding this, to have a position in which we don't choose, and we are open to the fact that if that's a big if there is an acceptable model of our experience, it is neither of those. It will be something different. But the beauty is that we don't have to choose between these models because it can both be accommodated within non-duality in the following way. In idealism, universal mind or God mind is ultimately the reality of our experience. So that would be awareness. In the realist model, there is an overarching reality. The laws of nature are there to show us this invisible global link which ties together all events and all objects we experience in the physical world. The fact that the laws of physics are obeyed, regardless of space and time, for instance, proves the globality of this reality. So then, awareness is the reality of the universe, is the reality of the physical world. And then ultimately, then it is the reality of our human body. It is the reality of our human mind. And ultimately, our thoughts and our experiences are the product of this reality and are experienced by this reality. Because the brain is not a reality unto itself, neither is the body, neither is the universe. There is an overarching reality that is the reality that perceives. That's why I define consciousness as the reality that perceives. not in terms of mind.
No, not in terms of mind. Right, but as I listen to you, it definitely makes me feel that, as you say, the realistic models point of view or arguments, to me, it still occurs that all of that physicality can be experienced in the subtle world, in the subtle realm, you call it. All of that sensations, all of that physicality.
Yeah, but what doesn't occur to you is that between these two models, there is no way to determine which one is correct, and perhaps none of these two models is correct. You are making the implicit. You believe that you have evidence that the idealist model is the only one.
No, experientially, that's all I do. I mean, I haven't studied the other model. I've just heard it from you. I haven't studied it to know how you go about getting any sort of verification of it. But I mean, from the quantum, I know that we don't have, you have space.
No, because your model, in order to account for the fact that you and I, we agree in this moment that we are having a conversation over the internet, right? Do you?
Yes.
You know, so this mysterious intersubjective agreement is everything is your mind, you see, and my mind, because of course what you are seeing in this moment and what I am seeing in this moment is different. So your mind is different from my mind.
My perception and your perception is different.
Yeah. That's what I call mind, right?
Mind, correct. Yes. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So because your mind and my mind are different, and there is this agreement between the two minds somehow. How is this agreement possible?
Because there's one perceiver.
Yeah, but then you bring about something which is external to mind.
The perceiver is always outside perceptions.
You bring about a reality which is external to mind, right? In the same way as the physicist brings about a reality which is external to the world. So the moment you bring about something which is external to mind, you cannot make the claim that mind is reality. Then you bring about a reality which is other than mind and more than mind. Of which,
yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
I think I'm getting lost here. So let me stop you if I may. So yes, I am saying there is the reality that perceives is itself not in the mind. Isn't right? So it is, if you will, external to it.
In other words, this reality is not mind stuff.
It's not perception, if you will. Yes. I have chosen this for this synonym, and I'm never going to use the word mind anymore. Whenever you say mind, I'm going to say everything that's perceived, and that has helped me progress.
Yeah. So everything is perceived by some reality which is not part of that which is perceived.
Correct.
Right?
So that's external to it, right?
Yeah. And therefore it is not mind.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying bringing that external perceiver is this implicit assumption that I've made.
Yeah. So when you have the experience of the external perceiver as real and universal, it manifests as utterly different from anything which is mind-like. It manifests, it reveals itself to itself as being
Other. It's an otherness.
equally granite-like as it is thought-like.
Equally planet-like. Okay, let me think about that.
You see the idea, that thing. The realist somehow implicitly sees reality as being granite-like.
Okay.
You see what I mean? Stone-like,
Yeah.
mountain-like, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
With weight, with being compact, and the idealist sees the reality as being thought-like.
Yes.
You see?
And you're saying it's a mixture of the two. Okay.
So what is important? No, it's neither.
Neither. Yes, it's neither one. It's neither one.
So
I understand.
it's important not to be attached to the idealist version, because then it means that we are biased towards seeing reality as thought-like, in the same way as if we are attached to the realist, materialist version, we tend to see reality as matter-like. So we have to see reality as both or neither. The moment we are biased towards one of these, we are kind of missing the mark.
Okay, so if you would just in one or two sentences tell me what I should look at a realist model to balance the view that I have developed now based on this experience to be more biased toward idealism.
Well, every time you feel that you are inclined to love one hypothesis, use your intelligence to understand that the alternate hypothesis is equally valid and equally lacking.
Indeed. Thank you for this.
So that in this way you remain in absolute not knowing, which allows reality to be whatever it is, because that's what it is, unknowable.
Yes, I understand. Thank
The
you.
moment we try to catch it, within somehow the fingers of the mind, it slips through the finger like water.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Francis. God bless you.
I have a question.
Hello, Francis. Oh, somebody else.
Igor was first, so Igor.
Okay.
Hi. It's not all clear, so I was hoping you could. I was listening to William Samuel yesterday, and he mentioned something that sort of stuck. He said at one point, I too tried to get rid of the person of the mortal, and all the while awareness went right on being aware, and it made perfect sense that this one who seeks is a thing. It's just something that is happening, and at the time this was very clear, because the outcome is that there is really nothing to do, essentially, because whatever movement there is to try to understand is already something, but it's as if this only happens, this sort of understanding only happens after the fact. While it's happening, I don't understand that. While there is a seeking, or while there is someone There's not the understanding that I am going along right on being aware. So when I say I understand what he meant, I understand this. Do I not actually understand?
No,
Should
you know what? I didn't understand what you said.
okay. Uh,
So could you phrase your question without reference to Bill or to?
yes, yes. I can see that anytime I seek, I am already aware, but I can only see that I am already aware after the fact, after I catch myself seeking. If I understand this, if I see that I am already aware, how is it that this slips at the time of seeking? Or is it that I don't actually understand?
Well. The problem is not that we don't know that we are aware. People who are in unawareness of their true nature, which in short I call unawareness, and I try to replace the use of the word ignorance with unawareness, which seems more appropriate. So even the ones who are in unawareness of the true nature of consciousness know that they are aware. It's just that they implicitly superimpose limitation onto this awareness. They see awareness as an attribute of a human body-mind. They see awareness as dependent upon this human body-mind. They have never challenged this belief. So this belief have never been challenged, remains active, if you will, in the background of everything they do, everything they think. Just as someone who believes in Santa Claus, a little child, as long as he has not cancelled this belief, Santa Claus will be part of his life, of his decision-making process, of his hopes, of his desires, etc.
The point I'm trying to make is that it seems that I understand that the answer is awareness. The answer is being. That's what I am after, but I already have the answer. So I say I understand. If you ask, do you understand? I will say yes, but it doesn't seem that way. It doesn't seem that I actually understand. This is where the confusion is. How can I say I understand and not have the outcome happen effortlessly? Like I understand if I touch fire, it'll get burned, so I'll never touch fire. There's no pretending or trying out to touch fire. Just don't do that. It just doesn't happen.
Well, to follow up on your metaphor, we understand that fire burns, but as children we need a series of painful experiences with fire before we get more careful. It's not necessarily the first experience of fire that will solve this problem for us. At least it's my experience. Perhaps I was raised in a less protected environment because there was fire in the fireplace at my grandparents' house every day, and we were playing with fire in nature, and so.
So when there's a movement to seek, it comes to me often of trying to understand of it's not an effort, but it's a trying. I can see that there's a trying to understand either a sensation, like something. Anytime that something in life happens, like I had a job interview, and I could see that there was movement in me, and I could tie this to a person. So every time every time I try to understand, I can see that there is already a movement, there is already something, and this seems kind of fruitless. Because if awareness is the answer, there's no need for this. But it's like, okay, this is clear. I don't get why it keeps happening. I don't understand why I can just let go if I can tell you that I understand. So either I don't understand or
Well, it gets clear before it gets crystal clear.
this crystal clear is an experience. Yes, you would you say? Is the ultimate, not the ultimate, but it is the foundation, the substratum experience?
No, it gets crystal clear. You know that it is crystal clear when you don't fall into unawareness easily. There is always the possibility that an old vasana has escaped the scrutiny of your sadhana, of your yoga. But for all practical purposes, you don't fall into the trap easily. That's crystal clarity.
So after the fact, after it happens, if I catch myself that is falling for easily, then if I find myself identifying and catch it.
Yeah, if all you have to do is see what motivates your thoughts and your actions. If the preponderance of your actions and thoughts originate from a sense of lack, you are not in crystal clarity. If the preponderance of your thoughts and actions originate from a sense of freedom and joyfulness, then you are a long way towards crystal clarity. And of course, there is a transition between these two situations, if you will. And all it takes is to look back at the past hour of your life or the past day, because the memory is still fresh of your thoughts, of your centers of interest, and you can say, was I concerned or was I free and happy? You look at the last hour, look at the last few hours, already that will give you a lot of information. And then if you look at the last few hours and in hindsight can compare it to the last few hours 4 years ago, that's the length of a spiritual mandate, 4 years ago. And if you see a clear improvement or a clear difference, that would be a good sign.
Yes, I can see that there has been an improvement from a few years from now. As far as thought goes, I can't control my thoughts, as you say, so there's not much I can do about that.
It's not about controlling. It's about, after the fact, observing. What I'm saying, because what I'm trying to give you is a way to assess. Am I on the right track? That's the question. Are things evolving towards harmony? And you can make this assessment by observing the origin of your thoughts and decision. If the origin is happy, or whether they come from misery.
I think another problem I have also, sometimes I feel like I'm trying too hard.
You are. I agree with you.
But it's like I don't know how to stop. It's like it doesn't make any sense. If I am already the source of what I want, I don't understand how the wish to want it wouldn't just be the answer. It would just be over with.
Yeah. It's like the dog, who chews on the furniture, and then you give him a plastic bone to chew on so that it doesn't damage the furniture. So perhaps in your case, thinking too much about the truth and with such an intensity and is like chewing on a bone. At some point you realize the bone has no juice. The problem is that you want juice.
I just have this idea that peace would be, that it would be unmistakable. And if it isn't unmistakable, then it isn't available. It isn't here.
Get rid of that, because you still see it as something to happen, as an event, therefore as something positive. That's what I mean by something positive. Anything which you are not already, as long as you seek for something that you are not already, you are on the wrong track.
But if I already am peace, and I am seeking for something that I am already, because that's what I want. This is what I don't get. It doesn't make sense. I am after. It's not like I want anything. I could care. I don't care for states. I just want to know what peace is, and I don't understand why that isn't enough. That I want that. If I already am it. It's like,
What?
yeah, of course.
The awareness in which these words are appearing, why do you say that it is not peace? What's missing to it that would make it perfect?
There's nothing missing from it. There is a moving away from it somehow, which I don't understand how that happens, but it just happens that way.
No. You have already moved away. Too late. So you are claiming there is no peace. But I was pointing at this awareness, hearing these words right now, and saying it's perfect peace, isn't it?
Yes.
Or am I missing something?
No.
The problem is that we want something else than this, which we already have, and we have it because we are it. And because we are it, it cannot be taken away from us.
So
we seek a different joy, a joy of having, which is different from the joy of being. And we claim that the joy of being alive, of being aware, is not good enough. That's the problem. We want a joy which is artificial, which is made of things. And we forget that, it's like someone who has always lived in a beautiful place and with clean air and nice birds and nice sounds around and beautiful trees and flowers. And while he was living in that beautiful place, he wasn't aware of it because it was just business as usual. And then he has to seek a job in the city, live in a miserable apartment, and be exposed to the pavement and the traffic noise and the polluted air and the absence of trees or whatever. And then all of a sudden he realizes that all along what he was really enjoying was already given to him. It's the same thing here. The joy of being alive, which means in fact the joy of awareness, is so implicit in us that we have forgotten it. And in fact, it is the only joy that we appreciate. All the rest of our activities are geared towards preserving the joy of being alive, the joy of being aware. But by doing so, by believing that this joy of being aware is threatened by events, then all of our activities are geared towards protecting something which is in fact not threatened.
What happens in most cases is I'll remember something, and this varies. Most recently was how do I know that I am aware? So then the answer comes, or the source of the answer happens. So then there's like an impulse to ask this question again and again and again and again and again, but the answer doesn't reproduce itself.
Here is my advice to you. Whenever you think about the truth, or you do yoga, or whatever it is that you are doing in a spiritual sense, only do it from joy. So before you think about the truth, or you think about what we are talking about here, or you do some of those stupid exercises or experiments you have learned from me during the retreats, before you start doing that, ask yourself, where am I coming from? Am I coming from joy, or am I coming from misery in the hope that I am going to get rid of my misery? Ask yourself this question, and never allow yourself to do yoga out of misery. Then do something else. Get yourself drunk, I don't know. Do something else, but never do spiritual search out of misery, because it defeats its purpose. Do it out of interest, but not interest for you, Igor. Because I believe I am miserable. If I do yoga, I will be better off. I will be a better Igor, a happier Igor. No. You are up to here in the mud, and by doing that, you go down up to here. So, no, don't do that. Because the problem is by believing that you are a separate ego who is miserable. That's the original sin, if you will. And the moment you have adopted, you have committed this original sin of believing to be Igor, the separate person, everything you do which comes from the original sin is tainted. Nothing good is going to come out of it. Nothing.
I understand. I guess it's a wish.
You understand that you see that you do it all the time.
It feels like I want to understand. That's the feeling. That I understand that if there is misery that causes it, that I don't understand. So I want to understand. That's where it's coming from.
No. See first that it is easy to see that if there is misery, it's because I believe to be a separate ego, right?
Yes.
That's all you need to know. Because then the next question is, how do I know I am a separate ego? The answer is, I don't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Stick to that and never come back to the separate ego. But apply my instruction. Never do yoga, never think about the truth out of misery. Only out of a sense of freedom, joyfulness. There is something else there. I am something else. I am something else than what I believe to be. When I believe to be the separate ego. And this something else is joyful and free and is the source of my interest in life. So there is something else than the separate ego, that's the limited ego, which is the source of my happiness.
Thank you.
Francis?
Yes, Florian?
Quick question about something. Basically, a thought came up based on the previous conversations. So let's say you clearly understand everything you just explained to the previous questioners, what your true nature, right? That you are not a separate entity, and then that happens instantaneously. And once it has happened, it's irreversible. But then at the same time, those old habits, because they have been so long practiced of thinking and feeling to be a separate individual and being sort of by outside circumstances even almost forced is not the right word, but people address you in a certain way and you have to act and you have to play the game, right? And but it's mostly the habit of thinking and feeling the old way. But I feel like so this doesn't disappear just because you understand or you understood, not at least overnight. But my question is, it seems to me that even though it doesn't disappear, once you've seen clearly what you are or what you are not, rather, you cannot stay there. Yeah, this goes back a little bit to what you said earlier, that um, to see it crystal clear and not fall back into ignorance or unawareness. And it seems like um, I guess the question comes down to um, when is the when the old habits come back up of thinking and feeling, yes, it's very. I don't see any way that you will completely stay there and completely forget your understanding. So investigating or doing the yoga to dissolve these old habits and ways of thinking and feeling, is it really necessary, or is it rather just to speed things up, or would it dissolve by itself naturally through the understanding without anything else?
The answer is, for all practical purposes, if you want to really enjoy the fruit of your liberation, yoga facilitates, accelerates the process. Eventually, when the body goes down the drain, all these attachments will also go, and you'll remain in your freedom. But if you want to enjoy this extraordinary gift, this extraordinary adventure of being alive in this world, then the yoga will accelerate the process. And I'm going to use a new metaphor. I'm sorry, because it's a metaphor of a physicist, so I have to explain it. Okay. Everybody knows what a magnet is, and there are things called electromagnets. And what an electromagnet is, it's a kind of a magnet that needs to be plugged in to an electrical source so that it can attract iron and other objects that are subjected to the magnetic field, to the magnetic force. So the situation in ignorance is like an electromagnet which is connected to the power source. And it attracts everything, all the little metallic particles that are around, and as life goes on, it attracts more of those as time goes on. And in this metaphor, these various particles that are attracted by the magnet are all these bad habits which are detrimental to our happiness that we acquire, that you were alluding to. Now, they have been there for a long time. So in addition to the stickiness which is due to the electromagnetic force, they stick also because, you know, stuff sticks to stuff. So that now the glimpse of truth is like the sudden switching off of the power source, meaning instantaneously the electromagnetic force that was attracting and keeping these particles against the magnet vanishes. Instantaneously, in fact, some particles will fall on the ground, you know, nails, needles, little pieces of metal and so on would fall. But others that are lighter, perhaps, will still stick, not because of the magnetic force, but just because of dirt, stickiness, whatever. And as a result, they prevent you from seeing the shiny metallic surface of the magnet, the well-polished, beautiful. And that, in this metaphor, is the joy of life, the shining of awareness, which is happiness. The shine of awareness is happiness. Now, what you can do, you can leave that there, hoping that the rain and the wind, since the magnetic force doesn't attract these particles any longer over time, will wash out these sticking particles. But you can also, using a tool or with your hand, eliminate them. So this action is the yoga. Now, if you do the yoga before having unplugged the power source, it's kind of a difficult job because the magnetic force is so powerful that even if you eliminate some metallic object from it, which will be difficult because the stickiness is much stronger. So as long as you remove the nail, bloop, the nail wants to go back to the electromagnet. But assuming you take them far away every time and you kind of clean up the thing, the next morning you come back and it has accumulated a new crop of particles or of objects. There's some open mic here. So then, in this, Carl Eric, if you could, oh no, sorry, Carl. No, the mic is not breakthrough. There is an active mic. Okay, I'm going to mute everybody, hoping that that will take care of it. It did. So the yoga is similar to, in this metaphor, is this act of removing the particle, but it is better done after you have unplugged the power source. If you do it before, the best you can achieve is a temporary experience of peace, which will pretty soon disappear as new particles are attracted by the magnet. So in order to really get rid once and for all of our misery, we first need to unplug the magnet. That's why the glimpse of truth of the direct path is kind of a precondition for the sadhana, which is this type of activity that takes place after the glimpse to do the final cleansing, if you will, of the body-mind, to liberate the body-mind of these vasanas or old patterns, old habits.
That's very clear. Thank you. And just to clarify, does that mean that, let's take a specific example. Let's say, in a certain situation, mostly let's say in relation with an interaction with someone, a bodily sensation arises, right? Which you previously identified with as being me. And now you see clearly it's just a sensation that's happening. So just the fact that it's appearing is no longer a problem. So you're not even, you're not bothered by it. You're just observing it and maybe, oh, that's interesting. The old sensation, which I previously would have taken to be a problem, or or would have tried to get rid of it because I deemed it to be unpleasant. I now can see it clear. It's just a slight tingling or whatever in the chest or whatever. And so would that already be enough? And basically remaining and in this not being bothered in this constant, because I mean there's no problem in that moment, right? Or would you say the yoga would, the cleanup hasn't of the magnet hasn't been completed yet because these sensations will not even arise any longer in time?
Uh, there is something we have to understand regarding the specific case you're mentioning. The specific case you're mentioning is this, is some feelings arising in you, not when you're on your own, let's say you are fine, and then you are in the presence of someone who is charged, who is subjected to ignorance, and you notice this kind of unpleasant sensations in you that are, and usually people call that, oh, this person has a negative energy, or this person has a good energy, a negative energy. What happens in this case is that we have kind of mirroring neurons. So there is a form of empathy in us that works. Usually we are not aware, but which enables us to feel the way the other person is feeling. And if this person is in ignorance, this person is feeling bad. So we are feeling bad, we are feeling the way this other person is feeling. Now, if we have done our homework, the yoga, if we have freed ourselves from these bodily sensations, meaning they are no longer a problem, they have lost their unpleasantness because we have seen them for what they were, just bodily sensations, not having anything to do with me. When in the presence of that person, the same phenomena appear in us, then what takes place is what you described. Oh, I know this thing. No problem. These are only bodily sensations. It is a natural reaction of my body facing this situation. I'm just the witness of this. There is no unpleasantness any longer. It's just what it is. And what is going to happen in this case is that somehow this person in front of you will feel the opposite, just as you were feeling his or her charge, heaviness, negative energy. They will feel like they are how do you say, that they are released from their heaviness, from their burden in mysterious ways. It's because just as your mirroring neurons kind of mirror their condition, theirs is going to mirror your condition, and they are going to give them a new perspective. They are going to awaken the organic memory in their body of its natural state, of the natural condition of their body. They are going to awaken the old memory of what a free body feels like. So yes, if what you describe is exactly this, and what what the requirement is to have done your homework so that your transparency is not affected by the phenomena that are happening with it. And sometimes you will have the opportunity even to face sensations in your body through this type of mimetism or empathy, sensations of utter distress, of great fear that you that you perhaps have never experienced yourself, as far as you can remember, because they were invading this sense of fear parts of the body that you never were invaded in your case in the past. But it doesn't matter, because your transparency knows how to handle those. And they are merely bodily sensations, and you just welcome them in, welcome them out. You see, so.
Okay, got it. So basically, in other words, as long as there's no resistance or the impression that there's any problem with what is present, then it's by definition okay. It's just
if you have
if
this
that's not the
kind
case,
of welcoming with interest, oh, that's interesting. Oh yeah, that's fun. This guy comes in my presence. I feel that's not me. What's important is to understand when you are in this, that's not me. That this body kind of connecting on that level, on that very subtle level with that body. And I have, because of my freedom from this, that is going to free him or her from this too, to some extent. To some extent, and that's, there is a visible part of the teaching, which is what is said and what is being exchanged. And there is an invisible part of the teaching. And this aspect of the teaching, through this form of empathy, is part of the invisible teaching.
Thank you, Francis.
I have a question about that, the invisible part of the teaching. Is it possible that something coming at the beginning from the will of the ego move slowly with times from the space of completion or joy or joy? I will try to be more specific. The will to share the experience at the beginning is often coming from the will, the personal will, and with the time it disappears. And recently, I saw that cela revient. It's coming again, but it seems to be from somewhere else, from the part joyful and just the joy of life to share with others the completion of the states. Is it possible?
The desire to share the desire to share happiness never comes from ignorance. It always comes from happiness itself, from love. It's only normal for happiness to share itself, just as if you have with someone you love, and if you experience something good or something nice, you want to share it. Oh, look at this bird, how beautiful! Or oh, you should taste this thing. This fruit is so nice. You see, you do that with your children, you do that with your beloved, you do that. The desire to share, it's very natural. It never comes from ignorance, from unawareness. However, the desire to teach, to share, to teach, to whatever, may also come from the desire to be recognized, seeking
Yes, exactly.
recognition, seeking approval, you know,
Yes.
seeking, or you believed I was not good enough, but look how good I am, you see? So
At the
that comes
beginning,
from,
it was. At the beginning, it was
ignorance.
that.
Yes, but you know, there is also, there are mixed cases, you know, because in which there was this true desire to share, and superimposed onto it, there was this other force coming from ignorance. So it's a kind of a question of mixed feelings. And over time, the ignorance, the unawareness aspect of it falls away, and only the pure desire to share remains. Yes.
Okay. And what do you do with this?
Well, everything that comes from that place is a harbinger of things to come.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi, Francis.
Hi, Gayatri.
Francis, I just had a sudden thought that, I used to get uncomfortable when I was around people that were very careless. And then I realized you were saying something similar, but it just came on its own. Like when I was, like the thought came, I don't know whether it came simultaneously when you were saying this, but it just seems to be something that, in your day-to-day life, it seemed to be at some point a difficulty in functioning because you have to interact with people that may be very careless. The culture is a little different here. We have servants and staff, or we have to interact with laborers in the company. So I don't know why that was, because a lot of people in the family that I know, they don't seem to be affected by that. So I don't know, maybe there's just a sensitivity to energy, somebody said, which makes a lot of sense, I guess. But I mean, it used to be, I mean, I wouldn't even realize, because I'm like, if I'm walking and I see an ant, don't want to step on it. I'll go the other way, and then I feel so bad that if I don't want to step on an ant and I'm, like fishing out insects from coffee, and why am I getting upset with this person? But I mean, like, there's no intention to get upset with them, but things that are so careless and so whatever, like different things that are said, okay, don't do this, but it would be done that way. So I mean, it just suddenly I remembered this isn't happening today, but yes, it still has a little impact, on your day-to-day life, because you have to interact with different people. And yeah, so I mean, just to be aware of what can, I don't know, like I would want to hear from you, like what is a good way to deal with it, because it comes involuntarily, and there is no
Yeah.
desire to really get upset with anyone.
Yes. So here's the thing. When you love the truth, you can change your perspective. Often people, they have a job which is in and by itself boring. And they have all these people at the office, supervisor or employees they have to supervise, or customers. whatever, all kinds of people they have to interact with. And the thought comes to them before they go to the office, gee, the job is boring, and in addition to that, I have to interact with this bunch of egos, you know, and they are depressed before going to the office. Now, at some point, they become truth lovers, and they hear someone like Francis telling them, oh, no, 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 that's very interesting. Agreed. I mean, the job is neutral. So where is the interest of the job as a spiritual seeker? The interest of the job is not in the tasks that the job involves, but it is rather in all these relations that we have. And these relations are an extraordinary opportunity to do the yoga. So when you enter in contact with someone, just meditate. Just be there, listen to your body, see how your body behind the scenes already acts in contact with the body of that person. We don't know that. Usually we are here in the mind and it's in mind to mind. It's only basically when there is a sexual aspect to it or between parents and young children that this physical thing comes in. But no, it is present all the time. Our body gets in touch with the other body. They communicate before we communicate and during our communication at the thought level. And usually we are not aware of that. So now that I've told you that, you know, when you do your yoga is to understand how your body is communicating with the other body, and beyond that, to understand that these two bodies are one, and that's why they can communicate. It's like I have plants in my garden. They're like we have succulents, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, you have 2 years, 3 years, nothing happens. And all of a sudden, you see the flowers, and then the flowers, and then the flowers. It's like they are all decided on that year to show their colors. Why? I mean, they must be kind of communicating, you know, under the underground, or however, exchange signals and say, okay, guys, okay, this year is the year, right? This year we are going to show the flowers to show how beautiful we are. And the bodies, they are like that. They seem to be separate, but they communicate. So the yoga exercise to be very present in your body. Don't try to be present in the other body. Your body does this communication. You are on the receiving end. And then see how your body fluctuates and how it adapts to the other body. Of course, be present also at the level of talk. But level of talk, you know, we don't need to be 100% attentive. We need just to be generally attentive. If something important gets said, then immediately we will grasp it. You see what I mean? We don't need to be there only here. No, we have to be wide open and do that and do this. See how all this interaction, especially with the jerks, become interesting because they become yoga exercise. And as a truth lover, then going to the office or going to work has all of a sudden changed. Before, oh, I wish I could go to a cave in the Himalayas to do my tapas, you know, to do my sadhana, to do my spiritual. All of a sudden I realized my cave, the best cave I could even think of to do my sadhana is the office. I have all the tools, all the instruments there, all I need.
Yeah, and if you could give some more clarity on the, exact tool that I'm gonna, or is it something I keep in my mind, and mind is not even the right word, just be some kind of like, just be aware within yourself. I mean, some clarity on the tool. But before that, Francis, something happened maybe about a month and a half ago. There was a meditation going on, or maybe almost 2 months ago. And, part of the meditation was send, hold somebody in your awareness, and send them pink light or something like that, like, send love to them. And I thought of this, somebody who was, yeah, like this kind of a person who was, getting some things for me. And the next day, I don't know what happened. It just went the other way around. And from then till now, things have been not good in a way. It's funny because like whatever interaction was going on, this person just got more adamant, like, I'm not gonna talk now, he said. And I was like, okay. So I don't know what happened there.
Don't seek a result in others, because there will be a result. But sometimes when stones, Rumi said once, people are of three kinds. Some people are like gunpowder, some people are like wood, some people are like stones. So gunpowder, when it's close to a spark or to the fire, it immediately catches fires and explodes. Wood, especially if the wood is a little bit green, needs to be exposed to fire for a longer period of time, but then eventually it catches fire and burns. Stones, however, when they are taken closer to the fire, after some time they get warm. But then when they are removed from the fire, they get cold again. So don't expect for everybody you meet to be like gunpowder or like wood. Usually, they will be stone-like.
Yeah. It's actually better to be gunpowder in the presence of, or you, or like, people that are awake. And even though it may not be fully in my control, and like rather to not be gunpowder in the presence of somebody that, you get triggered and reactive. Rather, I should get triggered by this transmission of knowing myself as awareness.
The karma yoga, the yoga of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, do your dharma without expectation. Be not attached to the fruit of your actions. Do what is right. And that's it. So that's the same here. Do your yoga in the presence of people for the sake of yoga, not because you want to change them. They won't. Some will, but it's not because of what you do. But do what is right, because you'll see that it may not change them, but it will change you. You see, so this your sadhana is really to do this yoga in the presence of people. That's why, Krishna Menon, Atmananda Krishna Menon, he used to say he was a police chief, someone in Travancore. And he used to say, okay, I would recommend for someone who is a truth seeker not to go to a cave in the Himalayas, but rather to take a job in the military or in the police force, because then you'll get really challenged. The medal of your realization would be really challenged.
Exactly. And, you know, it's not about changing them. If at all there is any impulse, it's probably still towards changing myself. That's why I was saying I'd rather be gunpowder in the presence of
Yes.
a master.
So the thing is, this witnessing of your inner reaction in the thoughts, but most importantly, to become aware of how your body dances with the other body, and that you know it in your body. Because there are no feelings, really. If we talk about feelings, we are not there yet. We are there when we see only bodily sensations. Remember that. There are no feelings, only bodily sensations. The difference is that in the feelings, there is a me. The feelings are about me. Bodily sensations are about this body, not about me. You see? So there are no feelings, only bodily sensations. If I understand that, the bodily sensations are about this body, that's it, not about me. I'm detached. I'm not that. I'm not netty.
Right. So, Francis, is there something to be said about, like, you know, a lot of different pointings, like not you, but like, you know, other pointings, they do mention that, you know, the subconscious will like record thing from when you're, I mean, you probably say that as well. I don't know, but they say like it gets something that happens, it, you know, you're not aware of it. It kind of gets recorded. Like when I was very little, I don't have too much of a hang up or a memory about it, but I know like you know, one of the staff was taking me on a bicycle and my foot came into the wheel, and so I don't have the feelings associated with this when I'm telling you. It's just like I'm telling you, that's it. But apparently I got stitches and I was under anesthesia and I was in and out. So whatever was being said, I don't know. You know, maybe the doctor was saying, oh, this little girl, I know something was said that is in pain because of somebody's carelessness and something like that. So I don't know. Does that happen, like kind of get recorded in the body? And it doesn't have to be, but I'm just wondering.
Yes, our experiences of physical pain get recorded. And you know why? Because that's a way to protect us in the future, not to reproduce, to repeat the same mistakes. That's all. So it's normal. That has nothing to do with ignorance. Ignorance it has to do with the psychological suffering. I can remember moments in my childhood when I've experienced pain, usually some kind of accidents and so on. And if I evoke the image, I can evoke the resistance to the pain. I can remember if your fingers are caught in a door or something like that, and the door is slammed shut, and your little finger, the little 3-year-old child, remains stuck in the thing with pain, and you cannot remove them. That has happened to me, and then the pain was big. Then finally my parents, and you cannot move, my parents realized, where is he? And then they heard my screaming and liberated me. And then they put my thing in cold water. Yeah, so if I remember this moment, yes, I can feel the contraction in my arm, you know. That's normal. It has nothing to do with ignorance. That's not what ignorance is about. Ignorance is this sense of doom that make us like lethargic, that, you know, that gives us the feeling life sucks. You know, life sucks. That's ignorance. Life is beautiful, life is exciting. You know, that's wisdom. Okay.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you so much, Francis. Thank you,
Thank
Francis.
you so much, Francis. It was wonderful.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Francis.
Merci
Thank you,
beaucoup.
Francis, so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Francis.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
Looks like it's still being recorded.